Hi, my name is Trey Amedas, and I will be going over the cybersecurity tool GoBuster. If you're not familiar with GoBuster, it's an open source command line tool written in Go, and it's used for brute forcing URLs, DNS subdomains, virtual host, as well as fuzzing. Today I'll be covering over 3 core use cases: directory and file enumeration, subdomain enumeration, using virtual host, and fuzzing. Okay, let's get into it. So the first command we're going to type is gobuster-h. This will basically just give us the different commands. So we have dir, vhost, DNS, and fuzz. We have some other ones, but we'll learn about those right now. So let's take a deeper dive into directory enumeration. This is how we can discover hidden directories on a web server that aren't linked anywhere on the site. So if we use the command gobuster dir-h, we can see all the different flags that we can use. So for example, we have the -u flag for the URL, and then we have the -w flag for word list. We can then increase the number of threads to make a faster output. We can then, change the status codes to only view certain, HTTP status codes. We have the -x flag for looking for specific files. And then we also have the -o flag, which is, I always forget where this, okay, right here for output. This will go ahead and output, our results to a file. So let's go ahead and run a command. So let's go ahead and run the command gobuster dir-u for the URL, and let's use the URL, the toppers, HTTP. With the word list, we're going to use the common text, and this is just a word list that is already downloaded if you're using Kali Linux, and that can be found in the directory user share word list derb common. And let's go ahead and add the O flag to print this into a text file called results. Then -x to only look for PHP files, and -t to increase the number of threads to 50 so it runs a little bit faster. Okay, while that's running, we can go ahead and see some things. You can see the URL, the methods using, the number of threads, the path to the word list we're using, which is just common.txt, the version and the extension that we're looking for, which is PHP. And here are results. So you can see we have, .htaccess.php, .hta.php, images, index.php. And then beside that, we can see we have, the different status codes. We have 403, we have 301, and we have status 200. And here we can see that using GoBuster, we're able to actually find a hidden directory, and there's a link to it. So if we go ahead and right click it and click open link, we can see that we're in a hidden directory that has an index of all the images. So we have band.jpg, final.jpg, and a whole bunch of different images that are used on the website. And then since we outputted those results, there should be a results.txt file now. So if we do ls, boom, we can see that we do have one. And if we do cat results.txt, we can see that it outputted our results into this text file. So now we have the basic understanding of how to do directory enumeration. Let's go ahead and move on to vhost, which is just our virtual host enumeration. This is how we can find subdomains and virtual hosts that may not show up in DNS, but are served by the same web browser, or sorry, the same web server. And so for that, dir and vhost share the same commands, but they will output different things. So let's just get into it. So let's do gobuster vhost dash U. Then our URL we want to use. Then our word list, we're going to go ahead and use a different word list. We're going to use the subdomains top 1 million from the seclist collection. So just change this to seclist, discovery, DNS, subdomains, top 1 million, 5000.txt. And then we're going to add this flag append domain. This flag is pretty important as it appends your base domain to each word in the list. So it'll test things like dev.thetoppers.htb or admin.thetoppers.htb. Let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. Okay, perfect. It looks like it finished. You can see that we have the subdomain.s3.thetoppers.htb and this other subdomain gc.msdcs.thetoppers.htb. So that's how we can just find, different subdomains that the main site doesn't link to. Then we can go ahead and move on to fuzzing. So fuzzing is, instead of brute forcing directories specifically, we can just inject a word list into any part of a URL using the keyword fuzz as a placeholder. So if we type in the command gobuster fuzz.u http, and we're just use this to find the subdomain. So we got to put that S before, then the word fuzz, the toppers.htb w, and then we're just use a special text file I set up that just goes through the numbers 1 through 9. And then we just press enter, and we can see that I went through numbers 5, 2, 4, 1, 7, 6, 9, 8, and didn't find anything. But once we got to 3, it was able to find that subdomain. Just like when we used vhost, we found that subdomain s3.thetoppers.htb. This can also be used for query parameters. So we can use it to, say if the URL was http.thetoppers.htb/page, $ID equals fuzz. We can use that to discover any insecure direct object references. Say if the ID 1 is our profile, but the ID 45 is the admin profile, we can just use that to inject that and just kind of find that without having to go one by one, in the URL. And so that concludes my demonstration of GoBuster. I hope you were able to get a pretty good understanding of it. If you have, and that, just keep using it. I think it's a great tool, and hope you guys enjoyed watching.